One of the issues that I faced at the beginning of this year was I took a look at all of our customers. And one thing that I found out was when I took all of our customers and put them into groups based on the resources we're spending on them versus the revenue that we're getting from them. One thing that I found was that I could drop anybody that was paying $1,000 or less, which was a significant number of my customer base at that point in time. But what I found was I would only lose 12% of my revenue, but get back 60% of my operating resources. So I was ready to trade that in every day. I'll drop 12% revenue and I'll take 60% more production.
Welcome to Show Me the Nuggets, where each week Joe chats with world-class entrepreneurs to find out the key principles, strategies, and processes that lie behind their outstanding achievements. Now, your host, the no bullshit serial entrepreneur, Joe Troyer.
Hey everybody, it's Joe Troyer and welcome to Show Me the Nuggets. Today we have on Tony Ricketts from Florida, the Tampa Bay area, and Tony owns Lawnline Marketing, and he is, as you guessed, he is an agency in the landscaping niche, and he is absolutely crushing it. So today I really want to talk to him about his agency, what he's seen as worked, not worked, but Tony's doing some really, really smart things when it comes to a topic or a category, you could say, or a deliverable that I feel like most people are completely ignoring, and that's content. And Tony's just absolutely crushing it. In a mastermind that we just had just a couple of weeks ago, he was talking about the results he's getting for his clients and his landscaping clients with content. And my jaw just hit the floor, right? I'm like, man, I got to get Tony on the podcast. So I've been looking forward to this one. Tony, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here, and I am ready to let you guys all in on how we do these things.
Awesome, brother. Super excited to have you. Before we dive deep, give us an understanding, man, of how you ended up in this crazy digital marketing agency world as we know it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, let's start from the beginning then. I'm a code monkey. I started my days in the ditch, writing code, learning how to do website development, graphics. And I've been doing this stuff since I was 10 years old, right? I was taught as a kid by my father how to get started with this stuff. Did it all through high school, went to college, got a degree for the stuff, started learning programming, did software engineering, started my career actually in software engineering, shifted into marketing agencies, still on the code side and development side and putting things together. And then I decided that I wanted to go the agency owner route. So like everybody else does, I started with the generalist agency. Right? I had the crappiest, worst, lowest pricing in the world you could think of, doing whatever I could to get started. And actually ended up running that generalist agency for about 9 years. So quite a while. But we hit a cap, we hit a ceiling to where we couldn't really grow much more because we were trying to service everybody. And it wasn't a really well-defined marketing structure as far as programs that we offered, a lot of custom stuff. It was just very difficult to scale. So I decided that I needed to really try to find a way to systematize the marketing services that we were doing. And that's where I decided, okay, I need to really focus on a niche. I can't keep relearning these niches over and over and over again. It took so much time to do that. And not to mention the fulfillment production is jumping from one topic to another, to another, to another. I think these are common problems that every generalist agency faces. So I did some research on some different niches that I could go into. And when I looked at the lawn and landscape space, I saw that there were tons of companies, just tons of them, 400, 500, 600,000 companies between the United States and Canada. I looked at the competition. So how many agencies were serving the lawn and landscape space? And at the time, we started in 2016. There were hardly any. There were a few, but not very many at all. So that's when I decided, okay, I got to get out of this generalist agency and move into this niche. Now, while I was in college, I actually worked on the landscaping crew for 2 years. So I knew the industry a little bit. I wouldn't say I was an expert by any means, but I at least could talk the lingo, understood what services they offered, and everything just matched up. The market looked good, lots of customers. But what I didn't realize was that the revenues were so low, which tended to be a problem later on in the development of the agency, but we've found ways to get around that. But that's why we chose the lawn and landscape, is because I knew a little bit about it. There were a ton of companies that offered it. There were very few agencies going after it. And also one of the biggest points was it was something we could deliver results quickly. When people hire lawn care, they go on Google, they look for somebody to hire for their lawn care. They're out there and close the deal within the same day or 2 days later. It's not something that is a longer sales process that you have to convince your customer to nurture that lead for 2 months before they're going to get paid on it. So that's a little bit of the background of how we went from a generalist agency into the niche.
Awesome. That's
Hey, real quick, before we dive into the rest of this episode, real quick, I promise my team and I would like to personally thank you, our audience, yes, you listening right now, for all the amazing support that you guys have been giving the podcast. The growth has been just crazy, and I want you to know that we're super, super appreciative to you. So we've been trying to think of something cool that we could do to give back to our audience, to give back to you guys. And I think we've come up with something that's really, really unique. It's something that's special. So here's the thing. The team here at Digital Triggers, my own little team here, has decided that we're going to give away a gift pack that includes our top of the line resources to sell SEO, right? We know that so many of you guys out there are agencies. This is going to literally give you contracts, proposals, pitches, scripts that you guys can use, outreach templates. It's a pack of assets and collateral for anybody wanting to sell SEO services or marketing services to any type of business, not just local businesses. This has been used to land e-com deals, all kinds of deals out there. So if you didn't hear that, let me make it a little more clear. Okay, our Digital Triggers family is giving you some of the best of the content and the resources that we've ever put together, absolutely free, just for listening to the podcast. Okay, all that you have to do is go to digitaltriggers.io/gift pack. And you are good to go, folks. It is that simple. We'll make sure that this page is up and ready for you guys by the time this episode airs. And with that being said, let's get back to the episode. All right, that was all right. I think that went okay.
So coming from your background, as you said, being a code monkey, right? Knowing code, knowing how to develop to whatever degree, right, you were at, I don't think really matters, but what made you view the agency model as like the model? Like, all right, yes, I want to go after that versus potentially going after SaaS or any of the other kind of things that you could have, game developer or any of the other kind of routes or paths that you could have taken. I'm curious in your point of view, like what made you go, no, like agency is the path for me?
Right. A couple of different things. So as part of my software engineering career, I actually built SaaS applications. So I've actually been in the engineering side. I've planned them, I've designed them, I've coded them, and I've seen the types of results that they can get. Now, one thing, SaaS has good and bad things about it. So like, for example, to answer your question, SaaS can be extremely profitable as far as the resources it takes to run them on an ongoing basis, what your burn rate would potentially look like. But at the same time, making them profitable and getting people on board takes forever. SaaS products are typically not ones that you can charge thousands of dollars for. There's a few that do, and like even in our industry, like Sprout Social, for example, I pay well over $1,000 a month to use their service. But getting to that level is extremely difficult. Also, when you get to SaaS, you're going to have a lot of competition. Now, I know there's a lot of competition with marketing agencies, but SaaS just tends, if there's something that you can do with SaaS, it's been done 6 times already. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to stay away from it. It's also very expensive to develop in the initial OnStart, whereas starting a marketing agency is not as bad. So with that being said, I looked at marketing as something that I could do at a reoccurring revenue stream at a higher dollar amount and then get it off the ground rather quickly. See, my path to profitability had to be fast. See, I didn't want to keep developing custom applications and stuff and doing custom marketing at my generalist agency, because we did the SaaS development at that point in time, and I didn't want to struggle, so I had to shift to something I already knew, something I knew I could make profitable right away.
Man, I love that. I think you answered that so eloquently. I think that's like the right answer, so to speak, right? Like the opportunity in an agency to make big contracts very quickly, and healthy profit margins is insane. It can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it in the competition of the marketplace. But when you look at the competition of the marketplace versus SaaS, like you're right, like it is so cutthroat, and people are willing to go right in debt to get a customer, right, for 6, 8, 12 months, a year, 2 years, or they're running like Silicon Valley type of startups. Like Twitter's never freaking made $1, right? Like, and somehow they keep running. Like, I don't get that.
Right. Right.
And so
Exactly.
the agency world compared to that makes a lot of sense. I've never had somebody on the podcast that I've been able to ask that question. So thanks for that. So you ventured into lawn because you saw the gap in the marketplace. I think you said. I think that's a huge takeaway. I think a lot of people pick niches and they don't think about how big the industry is or how big it isn't. They don't look at how many marketing agencies and who are the players and what are their services. And then obviously you talked about how you had some experience in the niche. I think that's cool. That obviously makes it relatable. You kind of had a leg up as well. But you brought up a glaring point at the end, which is the pricing, right? Like, how do you charge good agency fees in the landscaping niche? Like, dude, when I heard when I heard the name of your company, I'm like, is that guy crazy? Right? It was like my initial reaction. So I'm really curious, like, I guess, and you don't have to go into a ton of detail, but high level, like, how have you gotten past that stigma or low marketing fees? How have you been able to charge the fees that you have? Because I know you got some really sizable clients these days too.
Right. So I would say 2 words can sum it all up: reputation and confidence. Those 2 elements put together allow us to target the top end of the market, which we have to do. But keep in mind, I like to see people not spend any more than 5% of their total revenue on marketing, right? Our programs start at $3,000 a month, plus a minimum $1,000 a month in ad spend. So what you're looking at spending per year is $48,000, $50,000 a year. So that's only $1 million a year company. So when you look at how many $1 million a year companies there are in the lawn landscape, there's actually quite a bit of them, quite a few. So it's getting them to understand that you're not paying 4 mortgages this month. You're signing up for a yearly program that's going to take your $60,000 and turn it into $600,000. Exactly. So getting them to understand that is the biggest thing, and you deliver that with confidence.
Yep, investment versus cost and confidence. And you're right, you're not going after the entire industry. You figured out what that filter is. You figured out who this works for and who it doesn't, right? And you're not going after the wrong type of prospects and spinning your wheel where it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. You have to learn that not everybody in your niche is your client. And you have to learn to say, hey, you're not going to be a good fit for us, but maybe I can refer you over to somebody else.
I love that filter, man. I've known lots of successful agencies that have never figured out that filter, and because of it have just spun their wheels. So it's really cool that you've been able to target that so quickly in your business. So man, my team did some digging and they found out that even though 2020's been freaking nuts, it's been like the craziest year ever, right? It's turning out to be a really, really good year for Lawnline Marketing, and they found that you're on track to do 7 figures. Can you talk about what you think is the 80-20 of what you're doing? Prado's principle, or it applied to itself, is 64-4, right? What's the 4% of things that you're doing that's getting the 64% of the results? Like, what makes you guys stand out in the marketplace?
Right. I think one of the biggest things for us is operations. Operations is huge, right? And I think being able to identify where your revenues come from, where your profits are, and who your best customers are really help define that. So this year, we weren't always at the $3,000 a month programs. Those are newer this year with a significant increase from before. So being able to know where, okay, so to talk real quick about one of the issues that I faced at the beginning of this year was I took a look at all of our customers. And one thing that I found out was when I took all of our customers and put them into groups based on the resources we're spending on them versus the revenue that we're getting from them. One thing that I found was that I could drop anybody that was paying $1,000 or less, which was a significant number of my customer base at that point in time. But what I found was I would only lose 12% of my revenue, but get back 60% of my operating resources. So I was ready to trade that in every day. I'll drop 12% revenue and I'll take 60% more production. So that's what we did, right? And we formulated these programs that were very systematic, things that can be done very easily, that can show results quickly, show results in the long term. And then I think when we pair that together with our reputation, our authority and credibility when we deliver it, or our delivering it confidently, that it makes people want to jump on board with you. And also too, we've stopped doing things that aren't profitable for us. For example, we used to do one-off services. We would build a website if somebody just wants to build a website. And now we don't do that anymore. And by doing that, that makes people want to get to your bigger services. You know, when they come to us and say, look, we're not really interested in working with somebody that just wants to do a one-off website build, right? That's like going and mowing somebody's lawn for one time. You don't want to do that. You want to go and continuously work with them all through the year. And that's what we offer here, you know. So that's not quite what we do here, but we can refer you to somebody else. And the response is, well, no, let me learn more about what you do ongoing, right? And then we can get into that. So a lot of our growth has not been through customer acquisition, but really through making sure that we're maximizing our current customer base. You know, this year, I would say we've only brought on, I don't know, maybe 20 accounts this year, maybe. So it's about the quality.
To recap what you just said for me is, man, like it's all about the data, right? That's absolutely crazy. 60% production being cut by eliminating 12% of your revenue. And with your new prices and your new packages, right? Like you're going to make that up so fast. It's not even funny, right?
We already did.
Yeah,
we already did.
Not going to take many $3,000 packages to bring back that revenue and keep most of that production. So that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it did. We've already replaced all the revenue and we have more room in production. So we can bring more people on. So we're making more money and we can still continue to grow without adding more. Now, how they get in the pipeline, though, is definitely our reputation and our own marketing. We drink our own Kool-Aid. You know, that's the biggest thing. Practice what you preach. So I would also say that that's a little piece of it to get them into our door. But from there, it's just the delivery of confidence and services that really they want to work with us. You know, it's almost like when I do my sales pitches, I'm interviewing them to see if we would be willing to work with them. So you got to have that type of approach.
What do you think are the main levers, the thing for you or the services for you that really drive the results for your clients, right?
Ours is multi-pronged.
Okay.
Ours is multi-pronged. So we always require all of our clients, they have to do both PPC and paid advertising on social media and the SEO website, everything. See, we offer all-inclusive only. There's no one-off. So there's no just PPC, there's no just social, there's no just a website build. So what we do is we structure it to where the paid advertising on Google, Bing, we always force them on to Bing. Almost every agency misses Bing. Bing, I love Bing, it's super cheap, converts really well. So we load them onto Google, Bing, and Microsoft and all those others, do the social media ads. That starts getting results for them right away. You know, day two, they're starting to get leads rolling in. Hey, they love us. I just came from another marketing agency. I wasn't getting nothing for results. And then, hey, I'm getting leads and this is the second day, right? So they love that aspect. But then we shift over to SEO at the same time where we're building content, building their websites, building their reputations, providing live chat services, which isn't an SEO thing, but it's a high converting thing. We were doing email newsletters to helping them upsell their customers. So when you put all of this together and then your SEO takes effect, now it's all just compounding and they're just seeing tons and tons of volume coming in, which is then when we shift into helping them actually grow. Let's talk about operational stuff. Let's talk about recruiting services, things like that, because it doesn't just stop with making the phone ring.
Yeah, That's awesome, man. We talk a lot, I feel like, on the podcast with agency owners that have hit some kind of success metrics, 7 figures a year probably, where they start to realize that it's not just about making the phone ring, right? And it's about the coaching side of things too. And that if you don't talk about those things, right? If you don't talk about butts in the seats and average order size and
Right.
upselling your customers and their conversion rate on the phone, and if you don't help on that end and you're not reporting on that end, or at least don't have resources to push and to help
Right.
with that, ultimately that there's going to be a big gap, and you're going to have fallout.
Yep, absolutely. Or you're going to do the problem that we ran into. This is why we got into it. You're going to overload them and they're going to quit, right? If they're a company that only has one office staff member and you deliver 300 phone calls a month, which is not a lot really for some of our clients, they're going to call you back, say, I can't handle this. You got to shut it down. That was the number one reason we got fired, is because we kept overloading people. So I said, we can't do this no more. That's when we added on the recruiting add-on. Don't fire us. Let us help you figure this out. Let us get you the staff. Let us help you with your processes and your operations.
Man, I love that, because you figured out what the problem was and you solved it. And that's it. Like, all that we are problem solvers, right? As marketers, right? And we got to play the gap between our clients and technology and figure out where we can help them, right? Whether it's Google and Facebook, or, in your case, whether it's hiring and answering the phone, and right, like that is our job, is to find the gaps, to build a system and help our clients implement it.
It is, but also keep in mind too, which problems do we need to solve? This is something I've been putting a lot of focus and time on lately, is understanding the differences between the external problems that us agencies are really, really good at solving versus the internal problems that make people want to stay with you and use you as their partner, not as just a vendor. So like, an external problem is they want more leads. They want more customers. That's the external problem. We address that. That's what all agencies address. But they don't address the internal problem. Their internal problem is something within that business owner themselves, where I want to grow my company. Do I have what it takes to grow my company? When these calls come in, what's my next step? These are the internal problems that people will spend a lot of money on solutions for. So don't just address the external problems. Identify what those internal problems are with your customer and address those too.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's great advice for sure. We got to talk about content a little bit, at least give a precursor for what we're going to talk about later. But obviously, you guys are absolutely killing it with content. Can you give a little bit of a tease on kind of what your goals are with content, or what you strive for in terms of content itself?
Well, content plays its own role in different stages of the buyer's life cycle. So our content is strategically designed, written, and distributed based on where our customer is currently in the life cycle. And we're doing the same thing for ourselves. We're going to do a huge marketing push this year. We can dive into that if you want to. But the thing with content is making sure that you are properly writing and distributing the right pieces to the right people at the right time. That's the key.
All right, so we'll get into that in a minute. We'll deep dive on that in just a few. But before that, I'm curious, and I'm sure that our listeners are curious, man, what's your team look like? Like, there is no one way to build an agency, right? We know people that have huge 40, 50 plus person teams. We know people that have 3 or 4 person teams and are doing 7 figures, right? So I'm curious what your point of view is: in office, not in office, virtual, a mix, and then kind of what your team looks like at the highest level.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are all USA based in-office people. So everybody here works in my office except for a couple of a handful of freelance writers. So they're contractors. They don't work here in our office with us. But our main staff, they all work here out of our office here in Tampa, Florida. So when I built out my team, I did it in a very different route than what everybody else did. Everybody that I speak with, they tend to go for the account managers first and find their white label partners, that type of stuff. Being that I came out of development as a code monkey, I was doing this work myself. So first person that I hired was a web developer. That was the very first person I hired, because we were doing a ton of websites. And that's what I was spending a ton of my time on. So I had to get myself out of there. Second person I hired was a content writer full time, because I had some freelancers that I was using, but I was still doing a ton of content. So were other people that I knew. At that point in time, I was getting my friends and everybody to write content for me. So I hired a full-time content writer as my second full-time hire. My third full-time hire was a PPC and SEO guy, and he came on board and took that off of my plate. So the first three hires were all senior level, and they were all people that could just take it off of my plate. I could tell them how I like things done, but I don't need to train them that much. These people have been doing it 10, 15, 20 years. They know what they're doing. So I hired those three people. And then I ended up hiring two digital marketing assistants after that are full-time. Now, when I say digital marketing assistant, not for us, for our customers to do Facebook posts, emails, email marketing, putting together the email templates, doing review building, all kinds of stuff that we have them do. That's the lower level stuff. And I hired two of them, and then one of them was promoted to the account manager. So I had my account manager, which is my account manager was my last hire, which is typically most agencies' first hire. Yep. So it was an ironic approach. My next ones that I have, so I fully removed myself out of operations, right? I'm glad that has happened. But my next phase is to hire somebody for sales, to completely remove myself out of the sales aspect.
Gotcha. Perfect, man. So did I hear you right that your account manager actually came from being what you call the digital marketing assistant?
Correct. Yes. I did that actually intentionally.
Yeah, I think, man, that's so smart. Account managers, you just hire account manager off the street, whether they know digital marketing, they don't. I just think it's hard to do well in my experience. But if you can promote them from within and they have the qualities to be an account manager, they're a people pleaser, right? They can communicate really well. There's somebody that you like to talk to on the phone, and they've been through your systems, they've been through your process, right? They're not brand new. They understand how things work. That can give you just such a massive leap towards success, right, in that position.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So I love that.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, that person is dealing with customers, and an account manager is not somebody that you want a high turnover on, because then it's going to be, well, I've got a new account manager every other month, so you don't want that. Also, you want them to understand what they're talking about. So I didn't want to go hire a senior level account manager because I didn't need senior level. So I didn't need to pull somebody out of another agency for $70K so that they can start it. So what I did was I brought them in first as a digital marketing assistant, which has no experience. We train everything, train them how to do Facebook posts and the newsletters and building people's online reputation, responding to reviews, and how we come up with content topics and all of that. And once they've learned that, then move into the account manager role. And now they understand more of what we do. So it worked out. It's worked out really well.
I really, really like that. Promoting that role from within makes a ton of sense when you can do it, for sure. And I like the little role that you said, the digital marketing assistants, right? We have like content assistants and just assistants, or EAs, executive assistants, but I like that title. That's a nice little title for them. So you talked about sales. Is kind of where you're going next. I think that bridges the next topic I wanted to talk about, Tony, which is what's the future hold for Lawnline Marketing and Tony Ricketts? Like where do you see yourselves going throughout this year, next year? What's the future look like?
We're going to the stars and beyond, man. So, I've got huge plans. I won't disclose all of them of the long-term plan. Maybe you can talk about that later, but I'll tell you about my immediate plan, right? What we're going to do in 2021. So in 2021, I have a very bold goal, right? I really set the goal on this one that I want to add about another 1.5 to 2 million in revenue just this year alone in new revenue. Okay. And how I'm going to do it is a huge marketing push, doing everything that we always promote ourselves. So paid ads, social media, webinars, all of that kind of stuff, along with some very unique direct mail approach. So I'm really going to see how this works. I'm also doing some partnering with co-hosting of webinars with some well-known industry people and things like that. So from the months of January through April, and I'm considering going December to March, but I don't know that I'll be ready by December. But from January to April, as it is right now, we're going to spend $100K in paid advertising, social media, direct mail, industry publications, things like that. So it's going to break down 25K going to industry publications, mostly in custom email newsletters coming from those publications. 25K is going to go into direct mail, which we have some really, really cool stuff that we're going to be sending, like video brochures, for example, that shows up in like a package, looks like they're getting a present, open up a nice video brochure, custom socks being mailed out. We're going to do orange baskets because we're from Florida, right? So we're going to send orange baskets to potential prospects. And then we're going to spend 50K in Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads. We're going to probably put I would say probably get 20K or so to LinkedIn and really, really test that platform out because they have some super, super powerful targeting that you can do there. So we're going to put all that together. And my goal is to acquire 50 customers at $2,000 per customer. So, and then we're going to spend 100K. So that's what my goal is to do. And if we can do that, then we should do at least 1.5 million in added revenue. But I would like to get to 2 if possible, and add it on top of what we currently do.
Dude, I love it. I love the clarity. I love the putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak, right? We're going to do all the things that we tell you to do and that we do for you and you see us doing, but we're going to do it ourselves. And I love the confidence. I love that you've worked back the numbers. So without that, it's really hard to make a reality. But dude, I would love to have a separate conversation outside of here with you. We're doing some paid media and it's working really, really well. $300 a booked appointment, cold traffic, pre-sold, ready to go to buy. Happy to share what we're doing, obviously.
Yeah,
with you.
absolutely.
Share it so much with us. And our goal is break even by month 1 or month 2. And it would definitely fall in line with your numbers. Happy to share what's working for us. But man, that's a powerful goal. I was listening to a podcast or an interview with Molly Pittman, and she said something similar. So Molly used to she used to work at Digital Marketer as the paid traffic person. She got brought in as an intern and now is like, the big celebrity in the space for running paid traffic, right? Specifically Facebook traffic. And what she talks about is coming up with a budget and figuring out the numbers and then making the commitment to actually spend that, right? Like not saying, oh, well, we're going to throw $1,000 at it. We're going to see what happens and hopefully we'll hit our target. No, like come up with your budget, come up with your timeline and just go all in, right? And like make it work. And so I love that, like, essentially you're saying exactly that, right? Like this is 200 grand. This is my metrics. This is what I need. And that takes kahunas, man. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you. And you have to be very specific too with what that plan is going to be. We've got things that we're going to be doing that people will look at as crazy, like those video brochures. It's going to cost us $75 to $80 per person that we send that out to. So it's a very expensive, cold outreach direct mail campaign. But understanding what your customer acquisition cost can be and what their lifetime value is incredibly important.
Yeah, man, if you send that, I don't know what your numbers are, pretend to know your numbers, right? But for us, when we're driving cold traffic for an agency client, for example, we're happy to spend 2 to 3K to get a client, right? Like we don't spend that now, but that was like what we were okay with when we started and when we didn't know the numbers. So if that's the scenario and you know your average customer value, right, then it's just like, how do I spend as much of that money instead of what's my CPA and let's get it as low as possible? Like, who cares? Like, let's just get as many clients and build that recurring revenue as fast as we freaking can. Like, that's what matters, not your fucking cost per lead.
Right, exactly. That's a super important point. You see, my goal is at 2K per customer, but I can easily pay 4, 5, 6, even 10K per customer to acquire them. See, if you think about it, right now, our program started at $36,000 a year. Because we have legacy clients, our average customer is worth $29,000 a year right now. So that's why it's a little bit lower, because we have legacy customers. Everybody new coming forward would be worth either $36,000 or $60,000 a year. And we keep our clients. Our retention rate is pretty much 100% every single month. So we very rarely use them. So if we use an average of, let's say, 4 or 5 years as our customers span that they stay with us across their $36,000 a year, you can do the math on that, right? That's 180 grand, right? That customer's worth to us. I have no problem paying a couple $1,000 to acquire them.
Of course. Yeah, no brainer for sure. Dude, I love it. I can't wait to follow along as you go through this journey, man. I'll be watching over your shoulder. Keep me in the loop, man. Let's transition a little bit out of the agency side of things and let's talk about content, man. At the beginning, I wasn't blowing smoke. I meant it. Like, you guys are doing some awesome stuff with content. And I feel like there's such a gap in the marketplace with content. I feel like either people are doing it and they're doing it just because they know that they have to, but they're not proud of it and they don't want to show their clients what they're doing because it's not very good and it doesn't actually get results, right? So they're just like, I'm doing it because it needs to get done, or they're just not doing it at all, are like the most typical things that I see in the agency world. Don't get me wrong, there are a couple of exceptions. You guys, I feel like, are a major exception, but especially in like the niche-based agency model, I don't see many people doing content well at all. I think you guys may be the only exception that I see. So I'm really curious, man, like, what are the results that we're after? What's kind of the overall strategy? And can we make sure, man, that we just let everybody that's watching this, can we give them a strategy to take home to start implementing for their various niches that they're in?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So you have to think of content as it plays a role in pretty much every single aspect. So the first thing is you've got to properly create it, right? If you don't create it right, if it's not written right, if it's not built into the websites right, then it doesn't matter at all. So you've got to really understand, I'm talking the code monkey side of me here. You've got to really understand how the search engines like Google are going to interpret your content, make sure it's properly written. That's why HTML, which is coding for websites, I'm sure everybody should know that that's watching this, but HTML, that's why they have tags like H1, H2, H3, paragraph tags, section tags, header tags, footer tags, nav tags. The reason they have those is because it communicates what the content inside of that is about and what level of importance it should have placed on it. So, like, for example, a headline 1 or an H1 is going to get a lot more importance and weight placed on it than a headline 2 will. So you have to keep that in mind when you're writing it, but also when you're coding it into the website or putting it in the website. So first, make sure it's put in there properly and the search engines can understand it. 2 is, let's talk about the writing aspect of it. That's super important. We have a very specific structure that we follow with every content piece we create. And that structure is going to be a summary. It's not an introduction. It starts with a summary. You want to summarize everything that you're going to cover in this next section, the meat of the article, in just a couple of sentences in the top paragraph. You're also going to want to have your geographical signals being placed in that area too. Then you're going to get into the meat of the article. And when you get into the meat of the article, it's got to be detailed. And I am talking detailed, detailed, detailed. If, for example, I always use this in my sales pitches. If you have a website and talking about, let's say, lawn mowing, and you have a website and your content for that lawn mowing page talks about get your weekends back. We've been doing this forever. Make your property the best on the block. That's crap. You're not going to get any results out of that whatsoever. It's great that you might be addressing some internal problems for the client, but Google doesn't give a shit. That's not going to get you ranked when Google is going to look at your content and authority. It's going to compare it to the content and authority of everybody else that could be potentials, and then y'all are going to get ranked out. Yeah. So when you have a page on your website, let's take authority out of it right now and just look at content. If you have a page that talks about getting weekends back, to having the best looking property on the block versus another content piece that talks about when the mowing season starts and ends, how many sessions they should expect through the year, at what heights should their lawns be mowed properly, do we rotate mowing patterns? When you have content that gets that detailed about the service, Google will choose your content over the other person's content, even if your authority is not as high, because you're offering something unique and has real value. Now, also, while you write that, think about your headlines throughout the body and the paragraphs. We write our headlines last. Most people write them first. Like, okay, I'm going to write the title of this article, and I'm going to start with the title. This is what my title is going to be. Well, Joe, I'm sure you know that's why most movies and even your podcast, they have what's called working titles, because they end up getting changed after the fact. You wait till you have the meat of whatever the details are, and then you build your titles around that. So for us, we'll write out all the meat of the content and structure and all that, but then we won't write the titles for each section until we've actually written the section. So that's important, because the rule that we're following here is that if it appears in the title, it must appear in the paragraphs that immediately follow it below. You can't put lawn care in a headline 1 and then it not be in your paragraphs that flow right below. You're stuffing keywords at that point. You're trying to game the system. Now, you may have done it subconsciously and not even realize that you did it, but Google found it and realized that you did it, and they're going to dock you for it. So you got to make sure that your content's written properly. And then after the meat of the article is going to be your call to action, which is another great place that you can redo your geographical targeting. Now, that geographical is another big thing. You can't target it too much. You can't overdo it. You can't have it in every headline. Geographical targeting, I say, is like sea salt. It's just a little sprinkle of it does it. But there's a lot of other places that you can optimize your content for geographic. So, for example, you offer a service in a specific city, that content needs to be geographically targeted. One of the easiest ways that you can do that is through geotagging your imagery. Geotagging your images, doing map embeds of those areas, especially if we're talking about an area page, those allow you to send additional geographical signals to the search engines without blatantly putting it out there on your content. You can also do things like image naming conventions. You can also do things like alt tags on your imagery, video optimization. Videos can be geotagged. All of that kind of stuff can help with your geographical targeting. Now, what types of content are there? Well, for us, there's a few different types. There's service pages, which is a page that focuses on a single service and targets the top geographic areas for that service. Then we have area pages. Area pages focus on a single area and the top services for that area. So they're opposites of each other. What's important with area pages, and I see agencies do this all the time, is the content has to be unique. You can't just copy and change the damn city name, right? That happens all the time. You're going to get penalized. You're not going to get any results. Also, embed maps on your area pages. Map embeds are great. Also, our area pages always start with local references. This town is located 35 miles west of Tampa and has a population of 800,000 people. Some of the known landmarks include this, this, and this, because it's an area page, right? It's not all about the service. So service pages, area pages. We also have some other standard pages that we don't really put too much emphasis on, like FAQs, that kind of stuff. But your other main content pieces are going to be project case studies. So where you focus on one specific project, outline it in detail, geotag it all, give it its own page, tag it, that kind of stuff. And then blog posts. There are 3 different types of blog posts that we focus on. There's going to be your educational blog posts. There's going to be your trend and idea blog posts. And then there's going to be your cultural insight blog posts. So the educational are, in our space, let's say, for example, what kind of ROI could you get from an outdoor kitchen? That's an educational blog post. A trend and idea blog post would be the most common, or let's not say common, let's say the newest landscape trends, or raised planter beds in homes is a new trend for 2020, right? Whatever is currently a new trend and going on in your industry, those are your trends or idea blogs. How you can use annual flowers to sprucing up your flower pots, stuff like that. Those are all trend and idea things. And then you've got the cultural stuff. Showing the insights to the company, who you are, who are the people in the company, what events do you do, putting a human to the business. So those are your 3 types of blog posts. Now, as you create all of them, also, by the way, minimum 500 words is what we do for all of them. Everything 100% unique, everything following the same construction pattern that I said before: overview, meat, call to action. Now the next piece is the delivery. How do you deliver these content pieces at the right time, at the right place? So in our customer, think of them as being on a journey or a story, right? What's the journey they're going to go through to coming up with the idea of hiring your customer, all the way to hiring the customer? And for us, there's 4 chapters of that story: the idea phase, the research phase, the estimating and bidding phase, and the execution. And what we do is we lay out a map that says what types of content pieces should be delivered at each step. So during the idea phase, for example, project case studies are key. Also, the trend and idea blogs are key. At this point in time, service pages don't matter anything. They're not going to help you because these people are looking for ideas. Your gallery page is going to be a huge focus here because you're going to rank in the Google image results. These people want ideas at this point in time. Once they get to the research phase in our customer's life cycle, they're going to want to look at the service pages at that point in time, the area pages at that point in time. You're going to want to put more project case studies. You're going to want to do the educational things, giving them that research stuff that they want to know. And you're going to remarket it to them. So this is the biggest failure. Most people put content out there and then just leave it, or they'll share it on their social media thinking that Facebook's going to magically send it to 100 people or something. That ain't going to happen. You're going to have to put money behind this content. For every single content piece we develop for our customers, minimum once a week, is at least $20 behind every content piece. So every one of our customers spends a minimum of $80 just to push out the new content, not to mention the remarketing that's constantly running and all of those things. So once somebody has been triggered in your list for the ideas phase, then you use your educational, you use your project case studies, you use your service pages to remarket back to them, and do it through social media. That's the best way to do it. But also segment it. I hate this. I see people do it all the time, and it drives me nuts. Don't remarket to your audience in a big, broad list. No, they're not all the same. So like for us, our customers, they do outdoor kitchens, they do fire pits, they do patios. Well, somebody who's looking for a patio isn't necessarily looking for an outdoor kitchen. So don't send them shit about outdoor kitchens. Send them shit about patios, right? So segment that remarketing list. You can go right into your Facebook audiences and say, take this fire pit article and send it to people who have been on my website, went to two or more pages, and one of those pages was the fire pit page. That's super simple to do. And that way you're delivering targeted content to your remarketing audience versus just blanketing them with everything you got, which doesn't work.
I love it. It makes the retargeting and remarketing so much more impactful, right? You're cutting down on the frequency of the same ads being seen over and over and over. And we know that that causes banner blindness if you don't do that, right? Which means they're going to get annoyed. They're not going to click. Your click-through rates go down, your costs go up, and it's not effective at the end of the day. It's not near as effective. So I love that. Really good stuff. So you said a couple of things that I want to point out to recap that I think are worth talking about and re-bringing up. So you talked about how at the beginning of each piece of content, you are doing a summary, not an introduction, and you are very avid about that point. What did you mean by that?
Yep. So most people, when they create an introduction, they build up to the topic, right? They get you ready for it, right? We're introducing it and kind of leaving a lot to be interpreted once you start reading, right? We're not diving into the details at this point. We're trying to build up the enthusiasm and the want to read this article, right? That's how most everybody always starts them. And you see it like that everywhere. You see it in movies, you see it in newspaper articles, you see it all over like that. Well, one thing that we do different is we jump straight to it. Go straight to the details. Don't build up, don't fluff. Keep in mind, we are in a now world. Joe, I'm sure you know, having intros on your videos for your company don't work. If you have a 5 or 10 second intro, it's got the graphics of your logo, it looks cool, people love it. No, people hate that shit. They just scroll right past it because we're in a now world. So in our content, we take the details, what you've got to know about this, and we get it all the way to the top so that when the search engines come in, they don't see a whole first 3 paragraphs of fluff building up the suspense about what you're about to read. No, we deliver the goods right away, right at the beginning of that article, and then we get deeper as we go into the meat. And I think that's one of the things that really helps us.
Dude, this has been so awesome. I so appreciate you coming on the podcast. In terms of time, I want to wrap it up, but you've been thank you so much, man. It's been great. I know that people are going to love this episode, and I hope that they take some takeaways from it and they actually go start running and doing content for their customers. I think it can be an absolute game changer. And I've never been one to tout content for local agency customers. Just not been my thing. But you changed my mind, and man, I'm hard-headed. That's hard to do. Congratulations. No, I'm just kidding. So in wrapping it up, I want to ask you, instead of asking you to recommend 3 books, we do something here a little bit different on the Digital Triggers podcast. I always ask, what's the one book that's made the biggest impact on the way that you do business? As you look at Lawnline Marketing, as you look at the way that you handle things, how you guys run business day to day there, what's the one book that's made the biggest impact on the way that you do business, and why?
Honestly, I don't have one for you, Joe. I think I'm one person in this world that can say I've honestly never fully read a book from start to finish. I've never even really listened to a book either through Audible. So everything that I do here, I have learned the hard way through experience, the hard knocks, and the ups and downs. So I don't have a book to read. I mean, I'm not a reading type person. I learn from experience and visual.
I gotcha. So you went to the school of hard knocks and you learned the lessons firsthand each and every day, man. I get that. And you know what? Like, more than anything, I appreciate the honesty, and you didn't try to fake it to make it, so to speak. So thank you for that, man. And thank you for coming. Thanks for hanging out. If somebody wanted to connect with you personally, where's the best way to do that? Like, what social platforms are the best for you? Or how would somebody reach out, man? We'll obviously link up Lawnline Marketing in the show notes. Is there anything else you want us to link up for you?
Yeah, I would say the best way if you want to reach out to me is to hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there, so that's a great way for you to be able to connect with me, and we can communicate back and forth. I mean, I'm on Facebook and stuff too, but traditionally for the business stuff and collaborating with other people, go find me on LinkedIn. That's going to be your best way to do it. Perfect,
man. Thank you so much. Everybody, I hope you took a ton of notes from this. This is awesome. I got like literally an entire page, no joke. And super excited to be writing some content. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Show Me the Nuggets. Joe Troyer signing out. Man, thank you so much, brother.
All right, thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in to Show Me the Nuggets. If you've been enjoying the podcast and find our content helpful, please visit our Apple Podcast page, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a review. Joe and the whole team have been working hard to bring more value to the show. Your feedback will go a long way in helping us make the show better and reach a wider audience.